so long as like alchemy.
What's good? What's good? Quick check-in video here. I just got done getting up some shots with mini alchemy, a few jumpers, break a little sweat, turn on the radio in the car. Jason Kidd has been fired from the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, they've underachieved. I know, most people just pay attention to Giannis and his rise to, superstardom, but they're hanging on in the playoffs here. I believe they're like in the 8th seed right now in the East, right? And I know those teams are jumbled up, but, big picture, they're underachieving. And Jason Kidd, I've heard rumblings all season. Anytime I talk to a Bucks fan, they're not happy with Jason Kidd. Now, Jason Kidd's calling card is his defense. And his strategy, I've covered a few Bucks games, his strategy is basically to challenge all passes, to jump the passing lanes and be very aggressive, which somewhat makes sense given the length and athleticism of this team. It might be the longest team in the NBA. But there's not a whole lot of X's and O's going on. Remember, there was a sequence at the end of a game a few weeks ago where it was just mind-blowing, some of the decisions he's made. We've seen questions. I love J Kidd, first off, because he's from the Bay and he's someone I idolized growing up as a young basketball player, playing at Berkeley and just being from the Bay Area, one of the stars that came out the Bay. But as a coach, we've seen some suspect things. Remember when he spilt the water to get the timeout, some Mike Tomlin type of moves? And by all accounts, from what I understand, this is from a distance. Again, I don't watch every Bucks game. He just doesn't have many X's and O's. He's a motivator, right? But he's a lackluster motivator. And his strategic wise, he's not cutting it. So Jason Kidd's out. I believe he had just got a 3-year extension in 2016. So people thought he was a little more secure in his spot because of his relationship with ownership, but clearly that was not the case. It'll be interesting to see Giannis's quotes on this. They're in Phoenix tonight, but Giannis is out with the knee soreness, right? So let's take a look. Right now, there's an interim coach, some guy he coached in overseas, and he's been an assistant. He's been around the league. He's been in San Antonio, Dallas, right? His name is escaping me now. It doesn't matter because he's not the man for the job. He is an interim coach, like in the fullest sense. He's going to be replaced. Who is out there? The first person that comes to mind for me is Fizdale, right? Fizdale, we've talked about this, and it's been talked about that it was a bad decision for Memphis to do that. Fizdale figured out that Marc Gasol, he can't finish games. He is a dinosaur right now in the league as far as pick and roll game and his lateral movement defensively. But I don't want to jump into that too much. Dave, is it Dave Fizdale? Now I'm looking foolish, right? I just call him Fizz, right? But the important thing is that Fizdale, I listened to him recently on Chris Broussard's In the Zone, and he said he wants to get back into coaching, right? He's not trying to have like a hiatus. He's too young for all of that. So he wants back in. You take a look at the talent on this team and how they've underachieved. It's a small market, I get it, but it's the kind of a low risk, high reward position if you're a coach looking for a job, right? Because you're not going to have the expectations of being in a major media market, but you have the talent where you could really explode if you push the right buttons and get these young guys to buy in. And that's what Fizz does. Fizz is why I like him as a coach, is because he's a nice balance of X's and O's and motivation. You remember him in Miami, right? He has clout around the league. The players, the superstar players respond to him. And then he is a strategist as well. So that would be my number one candidate. Now, I was in the barbershop the other day, and I got into it about Mark Jackson, man. Shout out my dudes at the shop, but they're Laker fans, and they want Mark Jackson. And I was shaking my head. I was like, y'all don't know what you're asking for. You don't know what you're asking for, right? But I'm not going to get too far into that. Mark Jackson is a motivator like Jason Kidd, and I think he's probably a better motivator than Jason Kidd. But I don't think they're going to go that route because they need more strategy. They need more X's and O's. They need to figure out how to utilize this athleticism and talent. That brings me to somebody who was in Milwaukee, and this is kind of off the wall. This is a little crazy. Again, I'm jumping on here and just first taking this. This news just broke this hour, so it's not like I've had a ton of time to think about this. But what about George Karl? What about the angry George Karl? right? Because there you have a balance of, and again, what the concern would be is would he mesh with these young dudes, right? These young cats, and George is a little old school, right? But it would be very fascinating to see what he did with that offense and that dynamic. So I'm just throwing that name out there. Y'all, let me know what you think. Who should step in at that spot? Bucks fans, are you happy? Are you excited? And I also want to shout out my patrons, because y'all were the ones that afforded me to give this hot take. Y'all, your contributions, your donations, your support allow me to jump and not be doing some other bullshit and give you these hot takes. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.